Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Friday morning. For those of you who are hardcore and still with us, we appreciate it. Big football day today. Utah State wraps up their season at Colorado State. Utah wraps up their season at UCF. As we said last week, there's really no doubt the BYU-Utah game should be on the final week of the season. Honestly, on the final Friday of the season. Who wants to travel at Thanksgiving and play the rivalry games at the end of the season when they're supposed to be played? I mean, how happy is Fox to be getting 4-7 Utah against 4-7 UCF? Yawn. Why is anyone going to watch this? At least if it's a rivalry game, you got a little something going. You're going to have a little more juice. You're going to have a little more passion. You're going to have a little more unpredictability. But no, this is what we have. So this is what we live with. Great. BYU will play Saturday, so it's the Utes and the Aggies putting a close to their disappointing 4-7 seasons today. We had football yesterday. The National Football League, wildly predictable. All three home teams won, as they should have. Let's be honest, Detroit's way better than Chicago. Detroit got up 16-0 at the half, got a little bored. Chicago got back in it, had the ball with a chance to tie or win at the end, but just mismanaged the clock. They go home with a timeout that they should have obviously used, but winning teams make winning plays and losing teams make losing plays. And the Bears, losing play, losing decision. Third, as they pointed out on the broadcast, third time this year they've given away a completely winnable game. The block field goal against Green Bay. This, obviously, the Hail Mary against Washington. They should be over 500 right now in the playoff race. Instead, Detroit is 11-1 for the first time ever. Let that sink in. The Lions have been around forever, and they've never been 11-1. They've won NFL titles. I mean, not since the 50s, but nonetheless, they won NFL titles. Here they are, 11-1 for the first time. Dallas beat the Giants, total snoozer, doesn't matter. Doesn't look like any of those teams are going anywhere. And then Green Bay beat Miami, really dominated the first half. It ends up 30-17, but it was 24-3 at the half. It was 27-3 in the third. What we have in Miami is a team that is okay with Tua and atrocious without him. And Green Bay's better than okay, so Green Bay wins. Minnesota feels a little iffy. I think Green Bay right now is the third best team in the NFC. I think Detroit 1, Philly 2, Green Bay 3, if I got to rank them. Not sure what I have in Minnesota and Sam Darnold. I'm going to rank them 4. Got more faith in Green Bay. I've seen them in the playoffs, let's be honest. I haven't seen Sam Darnold and the Vikings in the playoffs. Not this version of the Vikings. We also had college hoops yesterday. BYU and Utah State. The Aggies get the win by 5 over St. Bonaventure, remain undefeated. The Aggies looking good. BYU lost in overtime to Ole Miss. Did a lot of good things in the game. Didn't close well. I thought there were a lot of whistles in that game. Man, there were a lot of whistles. Really struggled to stop the ball. I think that was the number one takeaway. Defensively, Ole Miss, when they wanted to dribble their way into the paint, they did. And that'll be a problem for BYU until they fix it. There's a lot of good things about that team. They did a lot of things right. But, still November, plenty of time to improve. The three ball did not go in for them after the start of the game. Early in the game, it was going in. That's why they built a 10-point lead. But after that, it became a real struggle. And there are a lot of whistles, a lot of free throws. Ole Miss wins in overtime. They dominated the overtime session, but good job by BYU to get there. So they lose to the 23rd ranked team on a neutral floor in San Diego. Semi-neutral. The crowd, it was obvious, as you would expect, in San Diego, right? BYU is going to have a lot of fans turn out. Ole Miss, not so much. So there you go. That is the day in sports. We've got a lot of football today. We got one NFL game. Amazon, of course, Black Friday. They're going to be trying to sell you everything they possibly can. And, well, it's Amazon, so they're pretty good at it. They'll probably pull it off. So we'll see the Chiefs today and see if they can keep pace with the Lions and see if they can get the win. Raiders and Chiefs. You would think the 10-1 Chiefs would beat the 2-9 Raiders. So that game's coming up at 1 o'clock this afternoon. All right, DJ and PK, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have plenty of stuff to get to this morning. We've got Riley Jensen talking football. We got the Best of Utah Jazz post-game show next, and we'll talk football with Riley. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Good morning. DJ and PK is proudly presented by our title sponsor, Black Desert Resort, Utah's premier golf resort. All right, it's time for the Best of the Utah Jazz post-game show. The Jazz getting beat. Yes, they got beat Wednesday night. What are you going to do, right? Another day, another L. What happened? Well, Jake wraps it up for us right here on The Zone.
Your Jazz recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. Happy Friday. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. The Jazz lose on Wednesday night to the Nuggets 122-103. The Jazz were led by Colin Sexton, who had 26 points. Keontae George added 23. Walker Kessler with a double-double, 16 points and 12 boards in the loss. Nikola Jokic, what a game from him. 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. Let's get to the post-game sound of Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
8 minutes, and that can become repetitive and, frankly, boring at times, and not break off the path. Not every possession is set up for you. Not every game is set up for you. Sometimes your responsibility is just to catch it and move it to the next guy quickly to maintain the advantage on the offensive side. Defensively, sometimes your job is to sacrifice your body. Sometimes your job is to be physical in the post. Sometimes your job is to scramble for a teammate who has made a mistake. But winning's boring, and we're trying to build the habits and the ability to do the little things over and over and over again, because the team is showing the ability to do the little things. We're just not doing them consistently enough. And we still have these little windows of the game that turn into kind of like a little disaster. You know, the last 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes of the first half into the first 2.5 minutes of the second half, that 4 to 5 minute window is really where the game was decided. It went from like a 2-4 point game to 17. That's a good team we just played. They, you know, I said this pregame, they test your execution every possession, and they test it for the entirety of the shot clock. That's a group that's been together for a while. The core of the team and their coach, they've won a championship together. Like, they are a well-oiled machine. And so those games are really good for our group, because you do get tested on little things over and over and over again, and when you make a mistake, they make you pay. But I do think that the team is showing pockets of good play. I am happy with a lot of the young players and their growth, not just in their physical ability, but in their understanding. I think sometimes the results can skew us on what we think is happening, but you know, I'm as critical and hard on our players as anybody, and I do see growth in the young guys. Tonight, obviously, it's tough when you're missing a bunch of our sort of key players that we're used to playing off of, but tomorrow will be a good day of rest for everybody with their families, and we'll be back to work Friday.
Can we talk about Oscar as his first time playing minutes with you guys, and obviously we all wanted to see him on the court at some point. What did you like him tonight?
Oh, man. I love everything about Oscar. He's, man, he just makes you feel good. He's such a good human being. I wish I was more like Oscar. He plays so hard. He's relentless on the glass. His physicality is great. You know, tonight was a hard game for him because he didn't, you know, we pulled him out of Stars practice midway through practice. Like, it wasn't like this was something he had a ton of time to prepare for. And so there's some play calls that we've put in recently that he hasn't been exposed to yet. And so there were some moments of chaos that were to be expected. But I just love his willingness to do the dirty work. crashes every time, blocks out every time, is a physical player on both sides of the ball. I think the rebounding speaks for itself. Like, his rebounding rate is pretty crazy. His stats in the G League are out of control. And to come in here and get 9 rebounds in 15 minutes, I mean, that is his gift, is his ability to track the ball. So we obviously need to get him up to speed on some of the offensive play calls and things like that. But today and the way it all unfolded with some of the injuries and stuff was not set up in any way for Oscar to be successful from that standpoint. But I think his competitiveness is great.
What is it that makes you say, like, when I say his name, you smile and you're like, I love everything about him? What is it?
I mean, have you met Oscar?
Yes.
Yeah, well, there you go. He's like the sweetest human being of all time. And then he plays in the game, and he's one of the most physical people you've ever been around. Like, I don't know. He just like smiles and gives you a hug, makes you feel good. He's hard not to like.
No, I have to ask about the bad parts, but
No one was expecting that.
why do you think it is that the team goes away from what's successful in the good parts? Is it that they're looking for their box score stats? Is it that they find a matchup they want to attack? Like, what is it that turns that?
Yeah, I think it would be tough to say they're like chasing the box score stats. I do think there is an element of, I'm going off right now. I've made a few in a row, and like, you feel good, but you sort of lose track of why. So yes, you've made a few shots in a row, but it's because of the reads you were making. Like an example from last game would be Bryce, and Bryce has played great. I'm not trying to pick on Bryce, but he gets a couple of threes making reads, sitting in the pocket on handoffs, coming off some off ball, makes a few, and then goes to play one-on-one versus Chris Paul. And it's like, that's not why you were going well. And so I think it's like the natural human piece of it starts to feel good. And so then you're kind of just like riding the wave of emotion, and you're just in those moments sort of like hooping. You're not executing anymore, and we lose track of what has gotten us those shots. That's not unexpected with young players. It's something that I've seen with young players my entire time in the NBA is you do lose focus on what has gotten you there. And then times when you're playing with a lot of young players together, there isn't that steadying force that can say like, hey, whoa, calm down. Like, we need to get to this, or give me the ball and you guys play off of me. And so it's a collective thing. It happens in practice. Like, it doesn't just happen in the games. It's like it starts going well, you make a few, and you just you lose the sense of why. But that's what we're here for, is to continue to like show them and teach them those things. And then it's, on them to build the collective awareness and the ability to, we don't all lose the plot. But if you or two of us lose the plot, our teammates and everybody have to try to pull you back in and say like, hey, let's get back to what's been working for us.
When you see a team that plays offense as 5 like Denver does, is there any value of showing some of those possessions to your guys, in film sessions or, afterwards?
The clips of what?
If you see a team that plays offense as 5,
Mm-hmm.
like Denver does, is there any value in showing some of those possessions to your guys?
I think there's elements. The element that I appreciate the most about Denver is that they just work the clock. they're not going to take the first okay shot they can find. Like, they just grind you down and wait for you to make a massive blunder, and they get an open one, usually a layup or an open three. I do recognize that part of it is hard to simulate because they're the only team on earth that has Jokic. So I think there's like a tone piece of it or a big picture piece of it that you can use to educate the team. Some of the specifics of the scheme, they're the only team that can really do that because of him. But their willingness to just keep passing the ball, keep cutting, keep screening for each other, that's what we want to hunt. Because they do just wear you down. Like, it's exhausting playing against them because every possession is, you have to execute 5 or 6 coverages right to get a stop. It's not just like you execute one coverage correctly and they're going to shoot a bad shot. They don't play that way.
What did you like from Micah tonight?
Micah's super solid. Micah's a really good player. His physicality and rebounding is good. I think he makes quick decisions with the ball. You know, he is pretty good at assembling his feet and getting his catch and shoot off. But I think when he doesn't, he usually just gets to the next action quickly. Sometimes that's him driving it and kicking it to somebody else. Sometimes it's just swinging it across the top and chasing it and going to screen. I think Micah is somebody who knows his strengths at this point in his career, and he doesn't go outside of them very much. He keeps the game pretty simple.
There's a few moments tonight Isaiah finds Walker, and you kind of talked about Isaiah's feel for the game.
Mm-hmm.
What's impressed you this far about how he can feel the game?
To this point, I think Isaiah is our best player at delivering the lob to the fives. Like, he's shown the best timing and feel for that specific play. I think some of our other guards, wings, young perimeter players have gotten much better at seeing the corner. But the timing of that lob, I think Isaiah is probably the best guy on our team at it. He got Walker a couple times tonight. Last game he got John on the roll. Like, it wasn't just the lob and the dunker. It was he came middle and John rolled on the empty pick and roll. That has impressed me a lot because it's a really valuable skill because you start punishing fives for over-rotating to the rim. I also think that his passing in transition, like his willingness to get off the ball early, has been a driver of our pace. Like, the game feels faster when Isaiah's in the game. And it's not just because he's a fast runner. He moves the ball quick.
Basketball related, what are you thankful for?
I mean, yeah, this job's crazy. Like, come on. This is not real life. Like, I get to coach basketball every day. I get to be with these guys every day. I love them to death, and they drive me crazy. We're just as dysfunctional as any family. I'm just thankful for this whole thing. It's like surreal every day. I haven't gotten used to it. I hope I never do. Beats having a real job.
Thanks.
That's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's move on to the players. And here now from Walker Kessler.
Spread. We'd always do turkey and stuffing. That's a classic. We would do a green bean casserole. That was pretty good. Sweet potato casserole. That was really good. My grandma makes a really good pecan pie. Phenomenal. Here's a question to you. Okay. Are you a mains or a sides person?
I love turkey, but the sides are the main attraction.
Dark meat or white meat?
Definitely light meat.
Ooh, that's debatable.
That's a hard one with me.
That's a debatable one. I don't know. But another great question. That's turkey or honey baked ham?
Turkey.
Okay, we can agree on that.
Okay.
That's
I'm
great.
anti-ham. I mean, not anti-turkey, pro-ham.
You're pro ham?
Pro-ham every day.
You like ham better than turkey?
I hate turkey.
Well, what are you thankful for?
That's a perfect question. I'm thankful for basketball.
Okay, we're talking about food.
I am thankful for Oscar. How thankful?
I'm thankful for Oscar too. Oscar is a phenomenal human being. Happy birthday to Oscar. It was his birthday today. I don't know if y'all knew. He got some little chocolate candies in this little thing. Yeah, great. That'd be awesome. I mean, he's such a good dude. Works his tail off. Just an upstanding dude. He's a great guy. I love talking with him. He's always reading his books, man. He's smart. He's a good, solid human being. And a great basketball player, obviously, too.
Does he make you work hard at practice?
Yeah, no, listen, playing him in college, I had a pretty good game, like in the first half, and I was like, yeah, it was pretty good. And I looked at his stat sheet, he had like 14 boards in the first half. He's a great player.
I have a basketball-related question now, too. Coach continues to come into postgame with a really cool head, very complimentary of the things that you guys do well. What would be something that would drive him over the edge and make him really, really angry at you guys? Because it seems really hard to do.
Well, Coach is definitely he definitely looks at the upside sometimes, but he's okay with turnovers and stuff like that as long as you're making them with effort. So if you're not competing and you're not playing with effort, that pushes them over the edge. Understandable.
Will also mentioned tonight Isaiah Collier has kind of perfected the lob pass to the fives. What did that feel like?
Yeah, he's a great passer. I don't know if you knew this, but we actually, when he was in 8th grade, I think I was a junior, we were at the same school in Atlanta. Yeah, Woodward Academy. And so, maybe there's a connection there. I don't know. But, he's a great passer. He has great court vision. So excited to see where he goes with his career.
That's Walker Kessler. Let's now hear from Oscar Shibwe, who had 16 minutes, got in the game for the shorthanded Jazz. 9 rebounds in those 16 minutes, had a couple of steals as well. Here's what he had to say.
I went home and told my mom, my mom was like, why you come back in practice? Are you okay? You got hurt or anything? I said, no, I'm good. They say I'm going to be with the Jazz tonight. So it was good.
Was that a pretty good birthday present, I guess?
Wow, I'm not going to lie. It was great. It was good. I was just home. Everybody was testing me, asking me, what did you do for your birthday? So I get to play a little bit. That's what I did. So it was good. I wish we could win. The team is doing great, but we just got to keep growing and get better.
When you come into the game, I think you're immediately on Jokic.
Yeah.
So, have you defended him before, and what was that like?
It was tough to defend somebody like Jokic. He's very smart. When I got in, I just be physical with them and don't let them push you down there. If you let them bury you down there, it's in one all the time. So I was up a little bit up on him, be physical. And I did what I did, so it was good.
Why do you, every time that we ask anyone about you, like, Will, what do you think of Oscar? Walker, what do you think of Oscar? Every time we ask anyone, they're like, oh, God, I love Oscar. Everyone is just feels so happy when they're around you. Why is that?
I always tell people I'm the light, so I bring the light. The light is trying to make everybody happy, motivated, make sure everybody are doing good. And I just bring a smile. They say smile, always sometimes you can help somebody just by smiling. So in the practice, it doesn't matter, we down, we up, I just bring a lot of energy every day and make sure I talk to everybody and make sure they're doing good. I'm a believer. I believe in God. I talk a lot about God, so I gotta make sure to talk to them about God too. Maybe that's why they love me, because I talk more about God.
Where did you learn to be this happy? Were you always like this? Or?
Well, my dad teach me life is not fair. You just gotta get used to it. You gotta get used to life. Life, you sometimes gonna give you what you don't deserve. But you just gotta smile. Smile, sometimes it can make up your day. It can change everything. I grew up in a difficult situation. And the one thing my dad used to say, just stay positive every day and smile. It doesn't matter how dark it looks today, the sun is going to come out tomorrow. So that's what I learned from that.
How did the Stars games prepare you for this moment?
It prepared me. I learned from them too to be ready, because the Stars too, when we played with some good big, but they're not NBA level, just to learn the game, spacing, defending. I feel like I'm getting better on defense too, and continuing rebound the ball. Now most of the team are putting 3 people on me. I say now, even if you put the whole team can stop me, I'll continue rebound the ball. That's what I do better. But the Stars is good because I get more reps instead of just to sit down, not doing anything much.
You like Wojo?
I do love Wojo. That's right. Yeah, of course, 100%.
With Cody going down there, I know he had like one practice, but what do you think he'll be able to bring to your team, and how does that change the Stars when a guy like Cody is sent down?
He's been good. I practiced with him almost 2 days now. He was just getting back it. I say, hey man, like you got defense on you. Why you keep missing? So he's gonna help him too to get more reps, to get used to the game. I know he's young, very very young. He was surprised just to start with them, but down there, he's gonna get his rhythm and he's gonna learn more game, be more strong, and understand what he need to bring up here. So I think it's best for him.
How was it to see Micah get the opportunity to start?
Well, I told Mike, I said, Micah, this is the day. You go out there, give everything you got. I told him every time, you just gotta take the opportunity, don't take it for granted. He went out there, he stole a couple rebounds from me. I'm still mad at him, but that's okay. But I'm happy for everybody. Make sure I'm happy when everybody doing good. For him tonight, I told him, whatever you did before the game, make sure you did again. We expect more from that. And he was like, yeah, I'll be ready, brother. So I like Micah. He's a good guy. Thank you.
That's Oscar Tshiebwe. Again, 9 boards for him in 16 minutes, but the Jazz come up short against the Nuggets. They lose 122-103. Up next, the Jazz take on the Mavericks at Delta Center tomorrow night. That game will tip off at 7:30. Pregame begins at 6:30.
When we come back, we're talking college football with Riley Jensen. That is next. Stay with us. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone, and we are joined right now by Riley Jensen, former Aggie quarterback, college football expert, and mental performance coach. Riley, good morning.
What's going on, my dude?
There are many, many things going on, and I don't want you to overthink it. Just gut level, Kyle Whittingham. Is he going to coach another year, or is he going to retire? What do you think?
Gut level, yes, he's going to coach one more year. We going fast? Are we going rapid fire? You want me to elaborate? What do you want?
Go ahead and elaborate. What do you think?
my gut tells me that just as a competitor and as successful as he's been, that he doesn't want to go out like they've done this year. And I think he knows that he's been successful for so many years. He doesn't want to leave with a bad taste in his mouth or any sort of regret. I think he may have thought that this year was his last year, but I think just the competitive juices are probably flowing again. And I think I personally, I don't have any inside intel or anything like that. I think he's got one more year in him, and that he wants to make this. He wants to make it so that when he leaves a legacy of winning.
Yeah, but how do you know that he's guaranteed to win next year? They could have more holes than they have this year.
Well,
and then it really gets ugly if that were the case.
True, right. But that's a risk. That's a risk he's always taken. That's a risk that he's always known, and I think when he's played good defense and special teams and had an okay quarterback, I mean, that's always equated to at least 8 wins, 9 wins for him. And so I think he's betting on him. I think he's betting on himself that he can right this ship, and that he can year and leave a legacy of winning. He's always bet on himself.
Yeah, but I mean, he hasn't always been 65 either, and I think the circumstances have changed.
No,
he's at a retirement age, and the fact is now, I think it's hurting recruiting. It's not helping recruiting. And I think that's what he meant by what's best for the program. They've tried, and I give them credit for having the coaching successor, but you're going to have multiple openings on the staff the second he steps aside. And I think that kids want more of an assurity. And who knows what Morgan Scalley's going to want in his staff. I don't necessarily think everyone who's on the staff, we just replace Kyle with Morgan, and they promote Sharif or somebody, hire somebody else, and away they go. I don't think it works that way.
No, I think you're right. I guess you're probably right about recruits as far as like people wanting stability, right? And wanting to be able to know that there's going to be stability in the program, but there's not very many places in the country where there's stability that you're talking about. And so yes, they want the stability and they want to know that Kyle's going to be around and that everything's going to be good, but like where you can go to 5 schools in the country where there's real stability. And so I don't know. You're right. You're right in the sense that I think people want that. Do they ever really get it? No. And I also agree with you 100% that I don't think that this is as clean of a transfer of power as maybe people think it is. I think that when Morgan Scalley becomes the head coach, that there are going to be some moves made and there's going to be some things done that make it Morgan's ship, that make it so that if he's going to be the coach and he's going to be the guy that's running the program, there's going to be some things that he does, including staff, that are going to put his unique signature on the whole program.
But I wonder if that's happening right now. I mean, the OC, the press conference a week ago, which is when this all really started to bubble up, in my mind. Full disclosure, walking a parking garage with PK a couple days after that, we were talking about it. I don't know if it was the Tuesday, the very next day. I'm like, I'm going to be refreshing my email all weekend. It's a holiday weekend nonstop. Because if he goes, I think he goes really quickly after the UCF game. Because they got to get on with recruiting, and Morgan's got to hire people and put a stamp on it. But the thing that triggered it was that press conference, not the most recent one, but the week when I started thinking, because I was with you, he's going to do another year. There were conversations, and he was planning stuff. I know in August he was planning stuff for the next spring. I know he was, right? And so I always thought, there's one more year unless something happens. But he has the right to change his mind either way at any time. So it's really hard to predict. It's a really personal decision, and he can do whatever he wants. But when he sits up there and says, Morgan's really involved in the hire, logically that makes sense, but that's going to help all the people who negative recruit. And I know there's less of that because it's more about the NIL cash. Why wouldn't it be? Some of the money that's being thrown around is real money. It's big money. But the new OC, I mean, that's probably at least 2. Don't you think an OC gets to bring in at least 2 of their own people, if not the entire offensive side of the ball?
Absolutely. The new OC will get to bring in at least 2 to 3 coaches. I mean, ideally, if you're the OC, you get to bring in all your guys.
Right.
Like and I think the number one thing when you're an offensive coordinator is your relationship with your offensive line coach. I think it's the number one hire, and I think it's the most important thing is that you and your offensive line coach are on the same page. and that you have the same vision and that you have the same goals. I think you can fill in wide receiver coach, running back coach, tight end coaches, but I think the offensive line coach is the biggest hire every time. And so that puts some people, in an uncomfortable position if they bring in an offense coordinator that wants to bring in his own guys. Now, look, you guys know Kyle better than I do, but I know that he was very close with his father. I can't remember the exact age that his father passed away, but I know that Kyle thinks about that. And I know Kyle thinks about, okay, do I want to have a life after football? Is there life after football? What do I want it to look like? And I think that's a consideration in all this. And
consideration.
We all had a lot of we all had a lot of respect for his father, and we have a lot of respect for that just in our own lives, of understanding that we are mortal and that this life doesn't last forever, and how do you want that picture to look? And I think he's thought about that, and I think that's something that he considers. Even as big of a competitor as he is, I think he's considering those things as well.
All very true. I can testify to that, and exact fact as far as that goes. I wanted to hit some football. That ASU game, just when you think you see something that, okay, I've seen this before, you see something that you haven't seen. It's crazy. And there were so many things in that ASU game that were so bizarre. But one of the more bizarre things was how difficult it was offensively in the first half and how awesome it was in the second half. How do you explain that?
Oh, I don't think that's far. I don't think that's so difficult to understand. So you go into a game, you're really, really prepared for what you think is going to be their game plan against you. You have a really good idea of what you think is going to work, and then you get into the flow of the game, and you get into the game, and a couple of different things happen, and the ball's not moving, and you're not getting the intel that you need quick enough or fast enough to make the changes. Now, at halftime, it's a lot easier to talk. You can look at some real data. You can look at some film now, which is something that I wasn't privy to when I was coaching. It was more like the input of the coaches, but you can literally look at the film and go, oh, I got him. I know exactly what to do now, right? And the cat and mouse game at halftime is so vital now. It's so vital. I also think that you saw Retzlaff come out of a little bit of a slump in the second half. I feel like he got into a little bit of a lull, and I don't know if it was confidence or the mentality of playing the position or whatever, but he made a couple of completions in the second half that gained some confidence back, and he was willing to put some balls in some places that he hasn't before. And so I think it was he did a good job of just showing why this BYU team is right there for the Big 12 Conference Championship this year. He's played really well this year, with the exception of maybe a 2-game lull there. And it was good to see his confidence back and to see him throwing those passes and making some plays that maybe we haven't seen in a couple weeks.
I thought they weren't that far away in the first half, even though, and I know that sounds stupid because they only scored 3 points, but they didn't have 3 and outs. And they had a drive killed on a deflected pass and interception, which was, unlucky. A ball gets deflected and who the heck knows where it's going, right? But it hung in the air and it got picked. And they did get that back, but that killed a possession, and they lost a possession on the onside kick. So I didn't feel like they were that far away, but the problem is when you're looking at 21-3, in college football, being behind isn't that big a deal. Even being behind 2 scores isn't a big deal. But I think your odds of winning go way down when you get by 3 scores. And the fact that Arizona State finished all their drives, which didn't have anything to do with the BYU offense versus the ASU defense, but that psychologically made it seem like, man, this is a big hill. The offense has really struggled. And it had, but they didn't have any 3 and outs. They'd had some success to build on.
Oh, I think you're right. Look, there's a lot of times when you're when you're playing in a football game and you're like, golly, it's just we haven't even had a chance to get started yet. You know, I was involved in a game this fall where kind of the same thing as BYU, where there was a punt return and then there was an onside kick, and although it feels like they're just making plays, you haven't really been on the field and you're down 14-0, right? But you're right, the 3 scores is where it gets a little bit scary, right? I thought the field goal before the end of the half was a big deal, just to feel like you finished with any sort of confidence. And then I thought A-Rod and his staff made a really, really good halftime adjustment. I feel like Jay Hill always makes good halftime adjustments, and they were right there to win that game. They had opportunities at the end to drive down and score. It didn't work out the way they wanted. I think the Arizona State team that they played is really good, and they're kind of built for championship level type things because they can run the ball in the clutch and they can make plays. Now, BYU, you can come back at me and say, well, BYU's defense had a 4-down stop. Yeah, they're a good defense too, but I feel like Arizona State is one of the more physical teams that I've seen them have in years, and I think that's why they're built to get to a Big 12 championship game, is because they can physically punish you in the running game.
What's going to happen up at Utah State with the coaching position?
Well, obviously it's not going to be the guys that are up there. I'm seeing a lot of names flying around. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it all works out with this athletic director. Her history has been to hire somebody from Ohio. The history before that was to hire somebody from the South. And so when you start throwing local names like Ken Niumatalolo, or you start throwing around Jay Hill, or you start throwing around those things, it'll be interesting to see if they're legitimately in the picture or if that's just fun for us to throw those names around because they're local and because they've done good things. I think she has an agenda of her own of what she wants it to look like at Utah State, and I'm not sure that it includes either one of those two.
We have found it hilarious before, and I think PK might be quietly chuckling to himself. I know I am. How is Ken local?
It's the LDS tie.
There you go.
It's the LDS tie, right? It's people feel like he's local. I mean, his son played for BYU. It feels like a local tie. He's been here quite a bit. I know he comes out to the All Poly camp every year. And so I think just a lot of people feel like they're tied to him because of that, and that's why it feels local. I think that's the only reason. But you're right. There's no reason to say that he's a local guy or that he's somebody that has been around here. He's from Hawaii, right? And all of his coaching career has been outside of the state of Utah.
You think they'll move quick?
Oh, they better, because I think it might already be decided or it's already real close to happening, because I think once you saw that it wasn't going to be a winning season and this wasn't going to be the answer, which, by the way, this is no condemnation on the staff up there. I don't think they were set up to succeed.
Right.
But there had to have been underground talks and underground interviews and underground thoughts about what it was going to look like long before we got to here. So it's got to happen quick. The staff's got to be put together quick, and they've got to be able to get out on the road recruiting and selling their new message, whatever that is and whoever that is.
It's got to happen ASAP. It's malpractice if it doesn't. But
wow, malpractice.
Yes.
We can sue them?
You should. Yes, you should. And the way that your vision has been treated in all of this.
PK?
That's true. I hear what you're saying.
I mean, what's another lawsuit?
I hear 4.
Right.
Oh, man.
It's like an auction right now.
Is BYU going to get the help they need on Saturday before they kick off, or, depending on how long, I guess, the Iowa State, K-State goes, in the first quarter of their game, certainly the other game, even if it goes OT or whatever, should be wrapping up. So are they going to get the help they need from the games earlier in the day?
Well, if there is help that happens, it's Kansas State over Iowa State.
Not giving Arizona any shot at all, huh?
I feel like that Kansas State game is the one that has a better shot. Arizona State's an impressive team to me. I feel like they're athletic. I feel like they're fast. I think they've got a little swagger that they haven't had in a while, and so I kind of feel like Arizona State's going to be in it. I think the team that could struggle this weekend is Iowa State. That's just my opinion. Man, I personally just think it'd be fun if BYU was in that game. I think it'd be fun to see. They've got to take care of business against Houston. They've got to continue to have, their helmets strapped on and pointed in the right direction and take care of their portion of the deal. But it would be fun. It would be fun. I just think local football, I'm starting to – you guys used to say this all the time, and I was like, oh, brother, here we go again. It is more fun when local teams are playing well. It's more fun to talk about it. It's more fun. The fans are having more fun, and there's just an energy around town and around the state when the local teams are playing well. So for me, I'm rooting for BYU to get in that game because I think it's fun.
Riley, we're going to leave it right there. We will talk to you again next week, and we'll see if the conversation is fun. How about that?
All right. I'm going to go look up malpractice and what that means real quick so I can figure out whether I'm going to get sued.
All right. Thanks, Riley.
See you guys.
When we come back, what is trending? All the headlines right around the corner.